granniopteryx, she knows the truth, she's linking every link.
I always look forward to seeing the comments under my videos because there's always something interesting. I always get really profound observations. And one of them was a comment was put underneath my video, the one, Widdecombe, a crime of murderous wrath. And the comment was, I don't know what, I must have said something about morality. And the comment was, there is no morality in socialism or atheism, only power. And that really struck me. You know, I thought about that for quite a while because there's a lot of talk about power dynamics in various political philosophies now, and it's especially common from people who belong to the Fabian society. They talk about, those sorts talk about power a lot. They talk about colonization or colonialism, patriarchy, capitalism. Capitalism, of course, depends on the oppression of the poor worker by the bloated capitalist. This all, their idea is that it all depends on the inequalities of power. And so, of course, the logical conclusion to that is to seize power for yourself. You know, that's your only salvation. If there is nothing else in society but the strong versus the weak, then it makes sense to be as strong as you can and just seize the power. And that's why the left is more violent on a personal level than people on the right. People have often said, oh, the far right, they're very violent. You find me anything that's been happening on the far right in this country recently, because I haven't seen it. The last time I saw anything even approaching that was the murder of Joe Cox, which was 10 years ago now. It was certainly a long time ago. Was it 2019, actually? Anyway, whatever. And that was somebody who was actually certifiably bonkers. I don't think that's a medical expression, by the way, but there you are. But the left, you get all of constant examples of people on the left being more violent on personal level, and also even worse, well, not even worse, but just as bad, being sympathetic to and encouraging others to be violent. So you get people on the left unsympathetic to victims of crime if they are perceived of as rich. There was one situation, I think it was in New York, where somebody killed a fellow who owned some sort of, or fronted or headed some sort of medical company. It's just occurred to me now. I can't remember what it was. But he just murdered this fellow because he was angry about the price of medicines in America, which I understand do seem to be a little excessive. And in fact, there is some talk of government curbing of that. But still, not the death penalty for it, which is what this person was dishing out. And then there's people like Nick Lowell's of Hope Not Hate. After the Southport horror, he was circulating stories about people on the far right throwing acid into the faces of Muslim women. I mean, that was an obvious attempt to remove something from the horror of what had happened to those little girls. And this is, he thought, and he said later on, it's just a story he'd made up. It never happened. But he wanted to, I mean, didn't say that, but it's quite obvious. He wanted to take the steam out of the righteous anger that a lot of people were feeling about what had gone on earlier with this evil creature called Axel Rudakabana. Because you see, criminals or terrorists, they've got less power than the other people, so they're justified in seizing that power, if only temporarily. It's what happened in the Gaza incursion into Israel. Islam is perceived as having less power in relation to Israel, so you got people who were justifying justifying what those demons did to ordinary Israeli farmers. And of course, that's another reason for rejoicing, all the rejoicing on the left after a death. Just look what happened after Anne Widdecombe had been murdered. That's the ultimate removal of power, isn't it? And there were people dancing on her grave, weren't there? Now, let's see what I've got here. Some social systems, again, Islam, are so constructed that they permanently prevent their societies from progress. By design, there is an Arabic expression called wasta, which means, basically nepotism. It's, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's families helping related families or relations. So you're going to get not the best people in certain positions, but the best connected people. And that has held back Muslim societies ever since the whole system more or less solidified itself in the 13th century. And it's, of course, getting worse and worse as resources in Arab countries get tighter. So the wasta system gets stronger. And so the Arab countries, which are sort of permanent rolling failures, they become permanently a society you have to sympathise with if you're on the left, because you believe in power dynamics and, they are obviously powerless. Or relatively powerless now. I've seen videos of people in Gaza, rich people. I've seen shopping arcades filled with luxury goods and lots of food and all the rest of it, because it's a corrupt system there that depends on inequality. It depends on certain groups bleeding other groups. But then, of course, you see they show all these videos of the other groups, the ones that are being bled, and you have to feel sympathetic to them because they are powerless. And that's, again, let's take this to the Pakistani community here in the UK. They are culturally running rape gangs. Not all, obviously, but enough of them in that sort of situation that you can say it's a cultural expression. But they are mostly, kebab shop owners, taxi drivers, not too bright. And therefore they are obviously low on power. And so the left indulges them, feels they have to be indulged because they are powerless. And this bad behaviour is one expression of them gaining a little power somehow. I've seen Melanie Phillips explaining that people scraping away or defacing the hostage posters after the Gaza thing. And she said that it spoils their view of the Arabs as being oppressed. And they can't, in their own worldview, it causes a disconnect that they can't take. So they have to get rid of these posters. And I think she had it ever so slightly wrong there. What it is this power dynamic. So you have these people who are hostages, and they may be children, but it's just powerful people masquerading as powerless people, offending against the power dynamic. It's obviously got to be a lie, and so they feel they have to remove that lie. I think that's the answer to the viciousness with which a lot of these people were attacking these posters. Actually, though, as a separate and philosophical issue, once the person has the power, when they seize the power, that gives them power, and so power has to be seized from them again. And so if you follow the logic of this idea, you're in a permanent state of war, because there never will be a system where power is evenly distributed. So there's sort of, that thing where you put one hand on top of the other on top of the other. Oh, by the way, just look at the length of my nails. Just astonishing. 2 weeks of not being able to do up horse belt buckles or anything like that. And just look how I've managed to grow my nails. Some of you may not know, a newcomer to this channel, maybe you might not realise I got a muscle strain staying on a horse, and so I haven't been able to ride for a couple of weeks. And no belt buckles, no mucking out, no buckets, long nails. Every cloud has a silver lining. All right, well, back to the power dynamics. So that's the idea of the patriarchy and colonialism and power. There's only power and powerlessness, and powerlessness has to fight power all the time. Of course, that's a sort of rolling system of constant revolution, which I suppose is what a lot of these philosophers thought was the only answer. There never will be a nirvana. There never will be an end to things in that sort of a situation. All right, well, that was my thought, which was sparked off by this, where was it? By this comment, a very profound comment. There's no morality in socialism or atheism, only power. And when you're talking only about power, that's when you have a society that is heading for the buffers. I'm afraid that this Labour Party is very much in that mindset, by the way. Okay, till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.